materials today, and as per usual, I'm excited to share that with you because today we're going to help you fix sleep issues, particularly those people who suffer from inability, like sleep disruptions. You wake up multiple times of night, maybe to urinate, maybe because of nightmares, maybe because of racing thoughts, maybe because you have to look after a loved one. So we're going to give you solutions for all of those scenarios to help you get back to sleep and hopefully sleep throughout the entire night and you wake up feeling pumped, feeling rejuvenated, and feeling energized. That's what I'm here to help you achieve. So without further ado, let me switch over to our slides. Okay. Dealing with interrupted sleep. We don't like that. It sucks. When our sleep is disruptive, it feels bad because you've got a lot of stress. It's very, very stressful. We all have responsibilities. We all have goals to achieve every day. And if you go throughout the night having disruptive sleep, as in you sleep, you wake up, you sleep, you wake up, you will wake up feeling really, really, just fatigued and brain fog, irritated. And that actually makes that night's sleep even worse. And every time you go to bed, you have this anxiety, right? You go, I don't know if I hope that never happens again. And that's not good because that's robbing you of your energy. That's robbing you of, all the energy that you need to achieve. And let's get rid of that today. So what we're going to cover today, quite a few things. All right, I'm going to share with you some of the causes for disrupted sleep. Understanding the causes is helping you understand what to do about it, right? If you don't understand the causes, you look for a quick fix, get a pill, but the thing is, the cause doesn't go away. So it's like you've got a bucket with holes in it, and you keep on, and then the water is dropping rapidly, right? The water is dropping rapidly. It's got holes in it. Just visualize a bucket, holes. All right, and you want to fix the issue. No water. All right, let's pour more. But you never address the issue where the holes in the bucket is leaking out constantly. And that's what happens when you don't know the cause. If you don't know there is holes in your bucket, it doesn't matter how much water you pump in, right? Eventually the water will go out and you have nothing left. And that's when you burn out. Okay, so that is a very important thing why we need to understand the cause of sleep. How do you prevent interrupted sleep? How do we, as well as what happens, right? What happens when you do have interrupted sleep, when it's inevitable or when it's out of control? We'll show you how you can get back to sleep after the interruption. And as always, I want to give you some actionable actions or actionable actions. I don't know if that's a word, but if knowledge is dead, if you don't put it into action, if you don't apply it in your life, it's not going to change your life. So you have to take action. And this is why I encourage you to do this as part of a community or as a group, because then you have this incentive, you have this accountability to implement. All right, causes for sleep disruption. So many causes. All right, now, before I get into the slide, it might seem obvious. Maybe I had a nightmare, or maybe I had too much to eat. Whatever reason that you think is the cause of your sleep interruption. Perhaps you think, it's stress. But there's a lot of things that you don't know that's behind the scene. What we call these, as scientists, we call these root causes, right? The root cause is not just be satisfied with the tree or the leaf cause or the initial thought of what the cause is. You want to dig deeper, right? Why can't I sleep well? Why do I have disruptive sleep? It's because I'm stressed. Why am I stressed? Because I had a long day at work. Why does having a long day at work causes stress and causes bad sleep? do you understand? So what I'm sharing with you is digging deeper to some fundamental categories of causes. Once you understand these, you can then use it because there's many different solutions to some of these fundamental problems that's highly disruptive of sleep. It gives you a clue rather than trying random things, right? You can try melatonin, you can try valerian, you can try lemon balm, you can try crystals, you can try salt lamp, you can try all kinds of things, but you have no idea if you're even on the right track. And then you just spend all day, all your money trying random stuff, and nothing works. When in fact, if you understand the causes and you understand that maybe you're wasting your money on the wrong cause, on trying to fix the wrong cause, then you can try maybe it's a different cause. I hope that makes sense. I think once we get into the slides, it'll make a bit more sense. All right. First, very, very much overlooked and very few people know about this is metabolic dysfunction. What the heck is that, Steve, you ask? Metabolic dysfunction is when your blood sugar is your ability to create energy for your body, right? That's what metabolism is. That's the definition of metabolism. It's taking the food, what you eat, everything you consume, and turn it into ATP, right? Which is the energy currency of your body. The process which it turns these food into energy ready to power your day is called metabolism. And of course, you can do a lipolysis, you can do it through glycolysis. There's different ways of turning these things into energy, but I'm not going to go into the biology of things. But just keep in mind, that's what metabolism is. What happens when it doesn't work well is a few things. Your blood sugar, right, is up and down, very irregular. It's rather than stable. Your blood sugar goes through high peaks and high troughs. And when high troughs, which is low, what happens is your body creates a stress response. The stress response is, oh, I don't have enough sugar. And why does it panic when it doesn't have enough sugar? Because your body does not know how to burn fat for energy. Because we live in such a calorie-rich food all the time culture, we've lost our ability, right? So when the blood sugar goes low, your body is incapable or it's not trained to burn fat for energy. And that means it panics. And the fastest way, because it only knows how to burn sugar, the fastest way for which it can restore blood sugar is to release noradrenaline, adrenaline, the catecholamines, or the energizing hormones that actually bump up the sugar. It's the fastest ways to do that, okay? And that is why you wake up. Because your body, when it's low on blood sugar or have this trough, because your body has this really peak and trough. During the trough, your body is panicking, so releases all these catecholamines and energizing hormone to give a boost to boost the blood sugar back to hopefully normal. And that often for people who have metabolic dysfunction or inability to regulate blood sugar as well, they wake up because of that stress response. There's a few things we can do about that, but that is essentially a very much overlooked cause. But metabolic dysfunction also contribute to other factors that can also contribute to poor sleep. Poor digestion, inflammation, autoimmune diseases, a whole host of issues that will affect your sleep. So that is something that you need to look into. Some of the more fundamental addressing poor sleep is to actually improve your metabolic function. All right. Frequent urination, and that happens to a lot of people with weak bladder, with weak kidney as well. They tend to urinate a lot at night. We'll give you some solution on what to do about that. because that's very disruptive. And of course, nightmares. Now, nightmares, for a lot of people, they wonder why do we have these nightmares, and what the scientists or more recent research shows is that nightmares is often hidden, unacknowledged, unprocessed emotions or trauma that we carry out, and because that's what happens in a dream. Your dream state, your REM stage of your sleep is when you dream, rapid eye movement sleep. And that is when you process a lot of things that happen to you during the day, or you think about sticky thoughts. All right, and those trauma or emotions, strong emotion, if they aren't processed and you suppress it consciously during the day, they resurface when that control your prefrontal cortex goes to rest. So it's all surfacing up in the middle of the night and represent itself as dreams and nightmares. And there's things we can do about that as well. All right, and last, of course, there are things that we can't often necessarily control. Looking after loved ones as a carer, but there are things that we can do to help you get back to sleep as well. Okay, so those are the causes for poor quality sleep. Okay, so what can we do about metabolic dysfunction? I'm going to give you some solutions. There are solutions that's longer term. It takes a little bit more effort to investigate, and what we are looking to do is to fix that on a fundamental basis. That takes longer term. But there are things that you can actually do even as of today that will help you if you suspect that you do have this blood sugar regulation issue. And that's why I divide the solution into two categories. There's stuff immediate and there's a longer term, which I'll talk about a little bit, just briefly, after I go through the immediate solutions. Okay, what are those? What can you do today? Apple cider vinegar. Now, if you look at the internet, it's almost like this wonder, drink. It can raise the dead, apparently. Well, at least that's what some people seem to think so. But the science is very clear with apple cider vinegar that is really good for blood sugar regulation. So much so that if you take some apple cider vinegar before you go and do the night before you do a blood test, you literally, as a blood glucose test the next day, you literally have a lower fasting glucose the next day. It does affect the result. So how it works is it improves insulin sensitivity. So your body is more sensitive to the sugar that you do have in your blood, and therefore your body don't need to produce as much sugar to cater for its needs, because the cells are getting what it needs from what's already there. So it's more sensitive. Apple cider vinegar is also very rich in acetic acid, which is a precursor to ketone production. And if you heard of the word ketogenic diet, apple cider vinegar is a really good way to help you produce more ketones, which, if you care about performance, it's fantastic for mental clarity and brain cognition. How do you take it? All right, a glass of warm water, not hot, not cold. Cold water just creates this. It's like cold showers. It gives you that seizing response, and when it's too hot, it warms up too much of your body. And what happens is that interferes with your ability to go to bed. But in about an hour before bed, take a small cup of apple cider vinegar. Warm water. Put 1 or 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar and drink that, and see how you go with your sleep. Another thing that you might want to look at trying, and I've got that listed there, is a teaspoon of raw honey. Raw as in it hasn't been pasteurized, it hasn't been heated up or processed. That is preferentially goes to your liver and stored as glycogen, right? So honey is very high in fructose, it's got a bit of sucrose, it's got a mixture of different sugar, but that preferentially goes to your liver to be stored, ready for fast energy response. And what happens is when how you'll have trouble with blood sugar regulation, when you have this trough, your liver is already got a small storage of glycogen ready to convert to sugar to lift it up without the need having to have this peak in noradrenaline or catecholamines to wake you up, right? So it helps you stabilize it. That's another way how a teaspoon of raw honey can work for you. Just make sure the water is not too hot, otherwise it's not raw. And last thing I want to mention is the C8. Caprylic acid is a type of medium chain triglyceride, which is MCT. And if you're not familiar with those terms, it's basically coconut oil that's refined to the purest form that is best for energy metabolism. So C8 almost exclusively converts to ketones very, very quick. It will raise the amount of ketones in your blood. And for those, and I just mentioned, ketones are fantastic for brain energy, right? Your brain loves ketones. It also loves sugar, but you want to be able to burn both. Now, for people with metabolic dysfunction, which one of these three work best? You need to try it. Now, each one of these you can mix it in a form of drink. You can just you can just take it. But one caution about vinegar, it's very acidic, so you don't want to damage your teeth that way. But you can put them in a drink. You can mix all three. You can try one after another. Experiment. These are all basically foods, so there's the risk is very, very low unless you have allergy to any of those. But in that case, talk to your doctor about these. These three are immediate solutions that will help just carry you through with some of the metabolic dysfunctions so that you can have better quality sleep even as of tonight, because it's so accessible. But in the longer term solution, you really want to develop that flexibility. When your body is actually designed to be able to burn both sugar and fat for energy. But majority of the population, you only know how to burn sugar because of this 24/7 big food economy. They want you to eat all the time. And what that does is your blood sugar is basically constantly elevated. That's why we've got epidemic of diabetes, right? Alzheimer's is also called type 3 diabetes because there's so much that this constantly high blood sugar, it's bad news. It basically roasting your body from the inside out. Just imagine you're being barbecued from the inside out. That's what sugar does to your body, and it creates all host of issues. Your body can burn fat for energy. When it does, it's like burning high octane fuel. And metabolic flexibility is basically when you run out of sugar, you just smoothly burn fat. Right? When you have sugar, you smoothly go to burn sugar. Your body have that capability but then we're so far down the glucose sugar path, we have so much of it, pasta, bread, grain, even whole grains, it's essentially get converted into sugar. It is sugar, glucose. It gets converted to glucose. So it just whole grain. It's not, just don't think it's any different than sugar. It gets converted to the same thing in your body at the end of the day. Fat, on the other hand, is demonized, right? But we gotta bring that balance a little bit. And that's metabolic flexibility, is to be able to burn either or smoothly. And that gives you a whole host of performance advantages as well as health benefit. And having that flexibility gives you that stability in blood sugar. Your blood sugar is not going boom, 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 boom. It's going to a little bit, but then come down rather quickly, then stabilizes very quickly, and you're not going to get this big trough to wake up in the middle of the night. So fundamentally, to fix the quality of your sleep, you need to have that metabolic flexibility. And this is where you might want to engage a coach to help you with that, because everyone's different. We have different diet, different preferences, different genes, different lifestyle and requirement, and you want someone to help you to look at your specific situation and give you some suggestion and advice on what to try. And that is a quick way to short circuit your learning experimentation. But there's a ton of material on metabolic flexibility on YouTube. Feel free to go and check it out. Okay, so what can we do? So that's metabolic dysfunction. What about urination? All right, there's things you can do immediately. When you drink, guess what? This is really interesting. Now, neurobiologist Andrew Huberman once mentioned this, and in his podcast, he talked about the speed at which you drink actually influences the urge to urinate. The faster you drink, somehow triggers something in your neural circuit to actually make you want to urinate quicker. So when you sip your water, and this is interesting, my mom has, doctors and Chinese traditional medicines has always told me to sip, don't gulp. And now we kind of have a bit of neuroscience to back that up. Sip your water, especially before bed. Really conscious with sipping the water, not just mindlessly gulp down a cup or two of water. Just sip if you're thirsty. All right, including the drinks that I suggested, and avoid diuretics. Diuretics make you urinate. Things like caffeine, chocolate, coffee, dandelion extract, tea, horsetail, parsley, hibiscus, caraway. These things will make you want to urinate more, and this is something that you gotta be conscious of. That you do not want to take this in the evening because they make you want to go to the loo, and that's not good for sleep. You may want to try antidiuretics. So it's the opposite. It makes you retain water. So, for example, salt. If you have a very clean diet, like you eat very healthy, often the chances are, and this is the downside, if you want to think about downside of a health clean eating, you're probably low on salt. Right? A lot of processed food are very high on salt, but people who eat clean, don't eat a lot of processed food, they may be low on salt, and that's why they're thirsty all the time, which is interesting, right? You can't retain the water. So this is something you might want to try. Experiment. Have a teaspoon of salt, or half a teaspoon. A teaspoon might be a bit much for people, but half a teaspoon. People who are on ketogenic diet generally expel salt a lot more. So you need actually more salt than the average people who eat a traditional diet. Just half a teaspoon of salt with some water. You can try some lemon balm, barley water again, and you can mix all three if that's something you want to keen to try. Try one at a time. Which one helps you best? Let us know. Let us know in the community which one works best for you. But the longer term solution, again, metabolic flexibility is going to help because it's something that's fundamentally important for health. And when you're healthier, you don't need to urinate as much as you do. Okay. Now, moving on to nightmares. What can we do? Oh, waking up in the middle of the night. Now, with kids, they might go through transition period where they have night terrors. That's not what I'm talking about. I guess I'm talking to the adults who have unprocessed emotions and who have trouble with nightmares and getting back to sleep and waking up. One thing you want to look into is acceptance commitment therapy. So I'll talk a little bit about that because that's something that you can do on an immediate basis. It's very cheap, or it's actually potentially free. You can go to and see a psychologist who practice ACT, but it's basically Generation 3 cognitive behavioral therapy a psychologist will do. That is one thing that you can do that's quite easy to do. But another thing that you may not know is mold in your environment, in your mattress, in your bedding, has the potential to give you really bad nightmares. Very vivid, just like horrible nightmares. So check for mold. Get some environment qualified mold specialists come in and test your room. And you want to look at emotional processing technique as well, right? That is something that on the longer term, the reason why I say ACT is something you can do immediately, because I'll give you some things to get you started today. But in terms of the longer term, you will need, you want to get your trauma looked at, right? You can do EMDR, eye movement desensitization, resensitization is a proven therapy for people going through trauma. There's some people who are doing research programs around psychedelics, which is really fascinating, from like cutting edge research on drug resistant ADHD. Sorry, not ADHD, but in terms of trauma, right? So post traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Those type of thing, or basically just like low level trauma, those are things that you want to look at to really address your nightmare on a longer term basis. Okay, moving on very fast. Looking after loved ones, we can't always control that, but again, this acceptance commitment therapy that I'm going to share with you is going to help you on an immediate basis. But longer term, so looking after a loved one on a longer term basis is about taking ownership. And what that means is sometimes our loved ones are sick or they're not well, but we need to not delegate that to others. There are things that we can be more proactive in doing. For example, babies. So when my baby was born, you know what babies do? They get up multiple times a night and they'll be fumbling around. Is it hungry? Is it scared? Is it cold? Does it just want to cuddle? What does it want? What does my kid want? Right? And that's very, very stressful. And for a long time, I was just sleep deprived. I was irritated, and I just thought that's the way it is. Now, sure, after I wake up, I might practice, ACT, acceptance, commitment therapy. But that is not fundamentally helping on the longer term, because no matter how fast I go back to sleep, it's disruptive. What did I do? I asked around. I took ownership. I didn't just accept that's the way it's going to be. I basically went and said, well, what can I do? If there is a solution, maybe I can go and find it. Maybe this is something I didn't have to accept, right? So taking ownership is about owning the outcome and know that you're the ultimate beneficiary, they say, or the victim of your decisions that you take. In this case, I decided to go and look for a solution, and I found this, was a Deming or something, baby language course, and literally shows a parent what to listen for. Right? There's different type of baby cries that the baby will express, and based on that, you have a very 90%, 85% chance of understanding what your baby wants, and therefore your sleep is less disrupted. Right? So that is on a longer term basis, whether it's a baby or maybe it's you're caring for someone who's elderly. There are things that we can do, right? Just always believe in yourself. Always believe that there is a possibility. Never lose hope, right? Keep going. Keep on going. Don't just say the doctor says this is the way it is. The prognosis, the doctors are often and not just guessing based on what they're thinking, and doctors often disagree. Get a second opinion, right? Be open. Go and search for solutions. Don't just accept things as they are. Go and search. All right, that's what I want to say about looking after loved one, because you're not as hopeless as you think you are, and I believe in you. I believe that you can do this. You can help people and still be able to sleep well. All right, guys, how do you get back to sleep after you wake up? We talk about addressing how we can stay asleep and minimize the disruptions, but now we're going to talk about what can we do after we do get woken up. How can we get back to sleep very, very fast? There's a number of ways that for which you can do it, and a key thing is about stress management or your mind management, your ability to control your mind and your body and to create the relaxation response is key for you to be able to fall back asleep. All these strategies I'm sharing with you are geared around that, right? It's around that, creating that relaxation response. What I want to give you is a breathing exercise called the Ocean Breath Heart Coherent Visualization. This is a video I provide for the founders and executives that I coach to help them to be able to create that relaxation response to fall back asleep. It's a very, very simple exercise that's based on martial art breath works. It's based on heart coherence or heart math institute research, and it will help you basically ease back into the state where you can feel ready to go back to bed and fall asleep fast. And that, just watch the video. It's very simple to do. It's free, and I'm giving it to you as part of this module. What else can you do? We talk about acceptance commitment therapy. So acceptance commitment therapy is a psychological technique or training or therapy usually provided by a trained psychologist, and this is something you can go and look it up if you need this longer term support, and which if you always struggle with anxiety management, that one will be a really good one to look into. But there is something I can give you even as of today, right? There's something that that's aligned with this acceptance commitment therapy that will help you get into a state of relaxation to be able to fall asleep. Remember, stress is enemy of sleep. And the more you stress about it, the less likely you're going to sleep. And then the more stressed you become, and you can see that vicious cycle being created. So how does it work? Essentially is having this mind of non-judgment, this mind of acceptance that it's okay, and that will give you that peace and ability to relax. For example, if you can't sleep, right, this is what you do. Try this with me. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. I can't sleep, and I'm okay. Right? Whatever you feel, you're stressed, just don't judge. Just say, oh, why are you so weak, Steve? Why are you so stressed? Don't you know how important tomorrow is? Don't get that, right? Whatever you feel, just accept it and learn that it's okay. That's the beginning of that acceptance, right? Your commitment to accepting whatever arises and be okay is going to give you that peace, that relaxation to help you transition back into bed. Right? Accept. I'm stressed. I'm okay. I can't sleep. I'm okay. Just repeat after that. Right? Just keep on going through whatever that's in your mental inventory of what is stopping you from sleep, and just say, I'm okay. After each, I'm angry. I'm okay. Just repeat until you can get this state where you start to be able to go back to sleep. And that's a very effective way for you to have a try of this particular technique of acceptance commitment therapy to get to sleep tonight. All right, what else? So I talked about the acceptance. Now, one thing that is really, really important is to not identify with the condition or with your inability to sleep. So the next element is about identity, and this is a very, very important point to keep in mind, especially if you've spent years identifying with the fact that you have poor sleep. You can say, I am an insomniac, or I am stressed, or I'm a terrible sleeper. These are identity. And the problem with identifying with a condition that you experience is that means that you become tied in. It's almost impossible to change identity. It's very, very difficult, but it's very easy to change in experience. So instead of saying, I am insomniac, you might want to say, I feel sleeplessness. I feel stressed. I feel angry, right? That creates a healthy sense of detachment to know that you are not your emotion. Your emotion is not you. It's something that can come and go and it doesn't define you. It doesn't have to be you. You can separate, create that healthy sense of separation is what empowers you to master your mind. And that's it's a high level mental technique. And as you train yourself, as you practice this, you become better. And that's where the neuroscience is fascinating, the neuroplasticity about your ability to rewire your brain and to create a new sense of you, a new, what we call this altered trait, a new sense of you can be created where it becomes the default mode of who you are, that you are at peace. But that starts from step one, which is that disassociation of whatever you're experiencing to who you are. Who you are is good, right? God created you to be good, but you may experience anger. You might experience negative emotions. You might even experience things like jealousy or hate, but those things are experiences that can come and go, and you don't have to let it be you because it is not you. And this is where this diffusion technique happens, especially if you have trouble with sleeping and if you already identify with yourself being an insomniac. That makes it much more difficult for you to get back to sleep because that's who you are and that's just the way it is. If that is an issue for you, I recommend using a diffusion technique. So let's just use insomniac as an example. If you feel, oh, I'm an insomniac, I just can't sleep, this is useless. If that's the mental phrase that you're speaking to in your mind, this is what I want you to do instead to help yourself. In the middle of the night, you woke up, you can't go back to bed, and you feel, I'm an insomniac. So rather than saying that, take a moment, just practice this in saying, I am an insomniac in a sentence. You say to yourself, I pause. Many seconds. Am. Many seconds. Pause. Okay? Pause. In. Pause. Some. Pause. Wait. Pause for everything that is sticking in your head. Act. Okay? And then gradually expand that thought out. This is very useful when you have those sticky thoughts about your identity, about things that's really kind of bothering you. You literally gradually, you can still say it, which is acceptance, right? You're not saying, oh, I'm bad for saying this in my mind and this is affecting me. Why am I so weak? No, you're going to accept you have this identity. I am insomniac or I am angry, whatever that thing that you're identifying with that's preventing you from going to sleep. You're going to deliberately allow yourself to say the same thing rather than say deny it. You allow it, but you're going to expand the pauses between every single syllable to the point where it disappears, right? Your mind starts to diffuse with that identity where you can begin to say, I feel I can't sleep, rather than I am insomniac, I feel I can't sleep, right? And then so you're trying to diffuse the distance between the words. I am right? I think you get what I mean. Expand that distance. And that's a very effective trick, or Jedi mind trick for yourself, to reprogram your mind, to reprogram your identity, to start to disassociate yourself from this thing that's bothering you, to start be able to liberate yourself from that, to begin the journey of learning to feel things, not identify with it, and then that again help you leapfrog to kind of manage this more fundamentally and gain control back of your mind therefore you can get back to sleep very, very quickly. Okay, let's move on with the slide. So we're taking a whole bunch of stuff today. We'll talk about the causes of insomnia, or the sleep disruptions, right? We talk about getting back to sleep in previous module, getting to sleep which is a sign of insomnia. But in this case, we're talking about the insomnia who woke up from the insomniac who wake up frequently at night and disrupted by sleep disruptions. And we talk about some of the fundamental causes, like the metabolic dysfunction. We talked about frequent urination. We talk about this, looking after loved ones, as well as some common causes like nightmares, and we also talk about what you can do for each of these situations, and we talk about what happens once you wake up. How can you get back to bed? So there's quite a few things we covered today, and you have some action. What do you want to do with all this information? What do you want to implement? Share with your friends and family, share with our community, our tribe. And when you try, let's say you have frequent urination, you start maybe taking a bit of salt, right? Half a teaspoon of salt with a liquid, an apple cider vinegar, and then you didn't wake up that night. Share your successes with your community, right? That is going to inspire someone else to try it. The key is help encourage each other to try new things, to experiment, to really take charge of your sleep and wake up feeling pumped every single day. So that is an important aspect of our tribe, our community, is that we want to support each other in our growth. And that is all from today's module. We've covered quite a bit of content, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of you might have questions about things that I've shared. Ping me, send a message to me, let me know what else am I missing, what didn't I explain well. I'd like to hear from you, right? I'll see you next time. Take care. God bless.